Yeah, very different breaking news. Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson have officially been unbanned.
Wow.
From Major League Baseball.
Wow.
Okay. Oh. Okay.
All right, we got to talk. I mean, we're wrapping up now. We got to talk about this for a moment.
I got the note. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Hey, Sam, you're going to figure out here every time we're wrapping up, news breaks.
Drops.
Or we're actually done and then a trade or something happens.
Corbin Burns getting traded to the Orioles 3 minutes after we got off live was the worst.
Crazy.
So this is confirmed that Pete Rose.
Yeah. Good. First of all, I'll say good for Shoeless Joe Jackson, because that man, he was accused of throwing the World Series game where he had the highest batting average in a World Series game ever, and they said he threw it. So I don't know how that happened, but.
So do we? The only report I'm seeing is from
I know
from Don.
I know, but I got an ESPN notification. Yeah, I got the ESPN notification, which was when I was like, "Is this real?" Like I was like, "Is this?"
And Rich Hill also signed with the Royals.
Yeah, Rich Hill did sign with the Royals. So
about the same magnitude of news as we can say. All right, this is interesting to me. You know, obviously, Shoeless Joe and Pete Rose have become iconic names in the sport with situations that maybe they're remembered for, and it's the reasons why that they aren't involved with, the Hall of Fame with baseball. Specifically, if we're going Pete Rose, talking about being banned, gambling, Shoeless Joe Jackson, if you know the story back in the way days of quote unquote throwing the World Series, the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting to me maybe is more of the timing of this situation. Because Pete Rose just passed away recently, relatively. And Pete Rose was a flawed man for many reasons, but I do wonder why now.
We know why now.
Well, yeah, we do know why. I would hate for that to be the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's good to recognize, but I always hate if someone's around to see the change. I'd rather them be around to see the change if you know you're going to end up doing that. I'll be honest. I'm a little bit frazzled by this news.
Yeah, I literally that's why I got the ESPN notification. I went to Twitter immediately because I was like, is this a fake ESPN notification? Like I'm so used to having to check like for verification on Twitter that even an ESPN notification, I was like, this can't be real. It's like just a random Tuesday, and it's just like that. It is. Just like that. Yeah, Jeff Passan just officially tweeted it out as well. So
with the link to the article.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think to wrap this part up, like I said, we weren't around with the Shoeless Joe Jackson era, and we weren't really around for Pete Rose, but we were understanding the story of Pete.
Yeah.
A lot more because that is a recency bias. And I think for Pete specifically, you felt that he was cast into a shadow of baseball. And I think because of what baseball has gone through over the years. And now when you're looking at all professional sports have gambling involved, and this doesn't take away from what he did, right? Like the situation of gambling, and there was the rules and that was set forth. You got to live with the consequences, but that's a tough thing for the entire rest of his life after that ban he sat with of not being included in that conversation. Mm-hmm. And if you were going to make this move and you knew things were getting to a point, you never know really when someone's going to die. Truly you don't. You can get an inclination, obviously, if people get sick.
Yeah. It is interesting. I mean, tomorrow is officially the Reds tomorrow are honoring Pete Rose. So it's Pete Rose night at the ballpark. So I don't know if they knew this was going to happen.
Now you can do your Windhorse thing.
Why would they do that?
I think at the end of the day, and this is something baseball is going to have to figure out. Now we'll wrap up the show, is that baseball has to figure out what do you want to erase from history and who and what is right, because we're looking over the last decades, steroid era, you're making a decision here to lift a ban. At what point, how are you going to navigate this moving forward? Like, that's what I'm looking at going on. Because the steroid era, you're still not figuring it out. Barry Bonds is one of the hottest topics. And Barry, people are going to hate this, Barry was not going to be the home run leader if he didn't take steroids. Barry still would have been a Hall of Famer if he didn't. He was one of the most talented players at the time. You look at his numbers pre-steroids, the post-steroids, they're pretty drastic, but the common theme was Barry was a very talented player. He's one of the names that you're going to have to do this. Roger Clemens is another name that's going to be in this, but for different reasons. Now you're throwing in this category of what's going to keep a person to possibly be in the Hall of Fame, what's going to be a part of baseball history, and how are you going to tell that story? I think MLB's had a hard time doing that for a long time, and maybe this Pete Rose news will maybe give us a glimpse of what that will look like. And Cube, I'm not saying that they're hardly erased, but people look at them very differently since then. Like a lot of people don't look at Barry Bonds as being the home run king. And if you look at the names being involved, that Mark McGwire moment, how much do people talk about Mark McGwire anymore? But they talk about other Hall of Famers in a different light. So that's just kind of my point. Like, people look at players differently depending on what their history was given at the time. So, yeah. Any other final thoughts?
I think you hit it. This is gonna open up a lot of conversation. Funny enough, a lot of people think that this would end the conversation about Pete Rose. I think this opened up a lot more conversations about other people.
Did you see the actual letter in this?
No, I have not.
Let me read the letter. It just popped up now. This is in a letter to from the attorney is a letter sent to Mr. Rose's attorney. Manfred wrote, in my view, a determination must be made regarding how the phrase permanently ineligible should be interpreted in light of the purposes and policies behind Rule 21, which are to, 1, protect the game from individuals who pose a risk to the integrity of the sport by prohibiting the participation of such individuals, and 2, create a deterrent effect that reduces the likelihood of future violations by others. In my view, once an individual has passed away, the purposes of Rule 21 have been served. Obviously, a person no longer with us cannot represent a threat to the integrity of the game. Moreover, it is hard to conceive of a penalty that has more deterrent effect than one that lasts a lifetime with no reprieve. Therefore, I have concluded that permanent ineligibility ends upon the passing of the disciplined individual, and Mr. Rose will be removed from the permanently ineligible list. While it is my preference not to disturb decisions made by prior commissioners. Mr. Rose was not placed on the permanent ineligible list by commissioner action, but rather as the result of a 1989 settlement of potential litigation with the commissioner's office. My decision today is consistent with Commissioner Giamatti's expectations of that agreement back in 1989. So, lots to unpack there, obviously. Lots to unpack there.